Unscripted.
It's been a very eventful day for PlayStation News, and I kind of already covered some of this stuff. Obviously, with the idea that there is possibly going to be a new designed, PlayStation 5 coming out as early as next year and possibly next holiday. Incredible news. I mean, obviously, that's something that, a lot of people will probably talk about, a lot of people will be interested in. I think most people probably interested in, is it going to actually look like what we're used to, or is it going to be sort of a different kind of look, or is it going to be like a slim type of situation? I think Sony is doing literally everything they can to basically go out there and make sure that people who want a PlayStation 5 can buy a PlayStation 5, because it behooves them to do that. Why on earth would anyone set out there and go, okay, well, we have PlayStation 5s, but we're not going to be able to get them to as many people as possible. You're really kind of defeating your purpose, and who knows how big the PlayStation 5 could be if they were actually available to, everybody that actually wanted one. So, yeah, I think that is pretty strange to see that happen. But at the end of the day, I do feel like, what we're starting to see from Sony is some pretty big stuff, and some of this stuff rivals even PC. I know people are going to hate hearing that, but to be honest with you, I say this all the time. For $399, you get you can pick up a PS5 if you can find one with a controller, and the DualSense really is a one-of-a-kind type of thing, and it's got, you can do 4K, you can do up to 120 hertz, you can do HDR, it's backwards compatible. I mean, for the price that you pay, you're never going to touch that, the performance and all that kind of stuff that you're going to get on a PC for that price. I'm sorry, it's just not going to happen. So I do think that a lot of what Sony is doing is fantastic, and next year should be even better, because, it looks like we're coming out of this pandemic thing, and, obviously AMD has their own sort of situation with their DLSS answer that should be coming out next year. So even though this year we're seeing a lot of people still talking about things like resolution, next year that stuff should be all kind of set by the wayside. Simply put, it looks like a lot of games are going to probably take advantage of the 1440p DLSS solution, and then you're going to be able to get 60 frames or better, and ray tracing and things like that included, because you're not going to have to go for that native 4K. And I know that that's going to be kind of a big strain off developers' shoulders. I'm not sure why the native 4K stuff started to blow up anyway, outside of Microsoft promising that even 3 years ago. So yeah, very interesting to see all this kind of stuff come about. But there was a couple interesting PlayStation stories, and I wanted to cover these because obviously it's good to kind of talk about it, but it was also really cool to see Sony come out here and do some of this stuff. So this has a lot to do with PlayStation patents, and something to do with the way that they're going to be able to utilize something like machine learning. They patent tech that generates interior environments from real world locations. So Sony Interactive Entertainment is at it again with innovative technology and AI powered experiences. It can actually change the game development industry of today. The video game and entertainment company has filed a patent of an AI that can build interior environments from generated exterior data that resembles requested real-world locations. Now, according to the documents submitted and made available on Patent Scope, the technology uses AI request and initiate gameplay, which generates an environment from a real-world location. The model learns from the exteriors of structures such as a house or buildings generated by the machine, and automatically uses these objects' descriptions to create the interiors. The machine learning model aims to provide interiors of real-world structures for video games more accurately. Three-dimensional 3D maps of real-world locations provide an engaging way to explore regions of the real world. However, while such 3D maps afford views of exteriors of buildings and other objects at real-world locations, they generally do not capture the interiors of such objects, as they are principally constructed based on external views captured from public places or other lawful locations. The technology emphasizes the development of cloud gaming by Sony as it continues to research and develop the technology further. A continuing trend in the video game industry is obviously the increased sophistication of graphics and the availability of computing resources to meet the demand of modern game engines. As video games evolve, their resolution and frame rates continue to increase, enabling rendering of very realistic and detailed virtual environments. Now, the patent was filed on October 23rd, 2020, and recently published on April 29th, 2021. Same as, basically all patent or company filings, there's no guarantee that this will ever see the light of day or be implemented in any gaming device, much less the PS5. That said, don't be surprised if we do see it in the future. It does seem like something we can see in a new VR headset that Sony might be cooking up or something along those lines. Patented new developed technology to advance video game industry is no stranger to Sony, and has previously published a developed technology awarding trophy via emulation for older games. So basically, sort of the way that Microsoft used cloud technology to render buildings and stuff for Microsoft Flight Simulator, you could do that in other types of games and other sorts of formats and things like that. So I think that could be sort of what this is hinting at, and would be something that would be added a bonus to like developers and stuff like that, being able to go out there and and sort of take advantage of something like that. I thought that was really cool, that this was something that they really kind of pushed, and not only did they push it, but it looks like it's doing a really good job. Now, Sony is also doing some other things, and I think what they're doing is probably basically almost in response to what Microsoft has been doing along the lines with like their game boosts and stuff like that. So there's a PS5 game boost trailer that gives the console feature its own logo. Sony Interactive Entertainment has lifted the wraps off a PS5 Game Boost trailer for your viewing, which highlights the advantages of the feature while also unveiling its very own logo. And they have a little trailer and stuff like that. It's not very long, but it shows off like God of War running on a PS5 and like Ghost of Tsushima and things like that. Game Boost is a feature that overhauls select PS4 titles via backwards compatibility, allowing them to run superior to the original version. Interestingly enough, the trailer includes the Shadow of Colossus remake from Bluepoint Games, which is a game that hasn't been patched to improve its performance on the PlayStation 5. The PS5 is fully backwards compatible with thousands of PlayStation 4 games, with only a small selection either not working or running with issues. In many cases, Sony's new hardware adds improvements to frame rates and resolution, although some titles, while working fine, do not receive any major upgrades. Sony launched, obviously, the PlayStation 5 in November of 2020, and here's the situation that that Sony has, okay? You have to specifically build something and patch it in, and put it in there to kind of get the kind of updates and things like that. So games, it's easier to do like if there's an unlocked frame rate and a dynamic resolution in a game, the PS5 is going to take advantage of that because it's like that. But if you have a locked frame rate and a locked resolution, it's not going to be able to take advantage of that without some kind of massive update and overhaul. The main issue with the PlayStation 5 is the fact that there's this flaw involved where you have to have a totally different version, and you have to have that version on the PlayStation 5, right? So you have to that's why like the older games are all getting these like 60 hertz and 120 hertz updates on the Xbox, because you don't need it. Even stuff like, I've even mentioned this before, Star Wars Squadrons, or Warzone, or Soccer Cars / Rocket League. Those games are all running 120 frames on Xbox Series X, and they're still only 60 frames on PS5 because they would have needed complete like versions of those games on the PS5, not the way that Microsoft does it for the Xbox Series X and stuff like that. So yeah, very interesting to see sort of how that comes about. Hopefully that's something that maybe has to do with the SDKs or whatever, and that Sony can fix up before too long, because I think it'd be nice to be able to take full advantage of that. And I know not everybody has the capabilities of 120 hertz TVs, but those are going to become more common as the years go along, and it'd be nice for people to be able to play. Like, who knows where the limit would end when it comes to some of these things, you know what I mean? Like, that's to me is just one of the things that it blows my mind. It's like we're living in a world where these consoles can easily do 60 frames, 120 frames, etc., 4K HDR, really just immersive stuff, loading games in like a second. Like the new Resident Evil Village, for example, loads in like 1.5 seconds on the PS5, takes like almost 9 seconds on Xbox Series X. I mean, you might think that's a small difference, but I mean, immersion is what it's all about, and I just love the fact that this is something that we continue to see improvement from, Sony and Microsoft, and hopefully it continues to go that way. So I'm really looking forward to that, and I'm absolutely looking forward to seeing what the future holds for both the Xbox and PlayStation. So far, obviously, things have been kind of held up because of the pandemic. As things get kind of back to normal, I'm looking forward to seeing what these developers are able to accomplish and what these platforms are able to do. Because let's face it, I mean, we're getting a little taste of it with some stuff on PlayStation, like Ratchet and Clank and Returnal, but we're still, I think, a little while away from getting like things that are fully immersive that really showcases what they can do. So, with that being said, I would appreciate any feedback. This is Crap Gamer. This has been Crap Gamer Reviews. Have a fantastic day. Rack 'em up. Crap Gamer out.
Unscripted.